The thing is, no matter how hard or how controversial this stuff is, I have to say it because it's my sole purpose and I want very much to say it. It's just very difficult. Why it's difficult, I don't really know, because when you're speaking the truth, you don't have to remember anything, you just say the truth. I mean, I've said it in a myriad of different ways in all of my videos, but I'm trying to put the whole story together so that the whole populace or anyone looking, if anyone at all is listening, so that they can understand what I heard in the afterlife from the one we know as Prince Rogers Nelson. I was told about my past, that current time, and the future, which is now. So that's why I say the things that I'm saying might sound weird and why I don't go live, because it's sometimes hard to recall. And so when I do it this way, I can pause the video and everything. I want very much to make clear that yes, I do come here saying that Prince, the one we knew as Prince Rogers Nelson, and the creator are one and the same. It's a wild concept for some, but like I said, I wasn't so surprised to find it out in the afterlife, because to me, it always made sense. I had always read my Bible, listened to the music, and I just thought, there's no way that this man is leading us to God without a reason. I mean, being a music connoisseur, having listened to it all of my life, growing up, I know music, and when I heard the Prince music and the Prince lyrics, I always say this, it wasn't always what was said, it was what was not said, it was what was missing, it was between the lines. So when I would read my Bible and then I would read the lyrics, or know the lyrics. And then the other thing is this, when you listen to the live concerts the way that I did, that was, of course, after 2016. I went to 5 live concerts myself, but after 2016, all of the old ones became available online, so I watched them so much that the majority of them I have somewhat memorized. So when you listen to all those things, you can put the whole story together the way that I can. Because when I say that it's not so much what he said, but what he didn't say. For instance, Prince in the songs would mention the word Jesus from time to time. He would say, don't die without knowing the cross. He didn't say to follow it. He always made mention of the name in some of the songs, but he never said, go this way. He never said, follow Jesus. It was just something that was in the lyrics to guide us towards our Bibles, because once you research the whole story, then you'll get to the part where Jesus is the fraud. Anyway, I came to talk about the afterlife and what I was told and why I met him on July 20th, 2010. I'm going to try to be a little bit more clear about it, because to understand why they would use clones and lookalikes, you have to understand who he is. And I think it's the Merovingian bloodline. And I think that, in our United States of America, our concept of a creator has been skewed, with this, what they call the New Christian Testament, the New Testament. That is to teach that basically this man named Jesus is God, and that's what they teach. And I believed that for a time. I got baptized, taught my family that, but I kept on searching and kept on searching, and it led me right to Judaism. And so anyway, the point that the creator is one, when I met him in the afterlife and he showed himself to me as, when he was Prince, it was just a holographic image. It wasn't like a real, human being. And there was other angels and things there too, but he explained to me that it was an image that he used. That's really all I can say about it. So I'm not coming here trying to have a false idol saying, oh, Prince is God. That's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the bloodline that he is, he showed me he can change. He was like, he's everything because he's the creator. I saw him in many different ways. And I'm going to give you a real good example right now. One of the ways that he showed me, well, it was the ways that he changed varied from slight to more than slight. And as he has begun to talk to me over the last 5 years, I drew some pictures and I've seen some images, and I have some things in my mind's eye that I can't really share with you. So anyway, when you look at the famous Purple Rain album image, you'll see that I have this part of the black motorcycle outlined, and that is because one of his images and abilities to change is like a machine. I've made the video before where I put the song Mr. Roboto in the background. As he is the creator, he intellectually creates, and from time to time, in any way he chooses or needs to, would come into our realm as whatever need be. That's really the best way that I can say it. This part of the motorcycle with the black leg here, that's one of his machine images. This is an eye and this is an eye, and it's sort of like a little ET guy. This mechanic can become the arm. His tire can, it's like Transformers kind of, and maybe that's where the idea of Transformers came from, but it's kind of like that. I have to use what I have in my reference to tell you. And then, so it's like a little machine man. And so when I say that he took on the Prince image, that's why he reflects his image up onto the motorcycle. Okay. So that's how he can be the creator, because he could be anything he needed to be at this time in this generation. He needed to sing the music to us. He needed to sing the music to us in a way that everybody in the world, pretty much, unless you're living under a rock like you, know who Prince is. And that is for a reason, because all of these mysteries are held for this time to come to this conclusion, so that everybody can know who he is and not be able to deny it and say they didn't know. So this machine image is just one of them. The other one, not so happy to reflect on. In 2020, I started going into trances and things. I would draw things and write things that I didn't know why I was doing them exactly. Things would come out of me, but it wasn't of my own power. Here, this drawing, I know it looks like a scribble, but look a lot closer. I was listening in headphones to, I think it was Let's Go Crazy or The Beautiful Ones. I'm not sure which one. And for every beat of the music, my hand would make a squiggle. And this was with my eyes closed. So if you look closely at this drawing, you'll see an eye here and an eye here, right here. Well, you can't see my finger. The two circles, that's like the red part. And then the arm comes down this way, the same as in the black arm, like I showed you. And then his body comes out here. This drawing is what I made. And it's because he was like revealing himself to me in my mind's eye. So I just wanted to show you that. Don't giggle, I'm in the sharing mood. If you look really closely, it says July 2020 on the side. It says my vision, keep seeing. That's what it says. And it's like this grand alien head. It was kind of like a dragon-ish thing. This also was drawn under a trance. Now in the drawing, the one eye up here on this side had like this upside down looking cross in it. And then this one is all blacked out, and it reminded me of the song, The One Eye Staring at Nothing at All. When I met him in the afterlife, I didn't just see him as Prince. He was like, there was a dragon-esque image, if I could be so bold as to say. I know there was wings. And in this song off the Emancipation album, Da Da Da, one of the rappers, Tony M or somebody in the background, singing about something about the Grand Dragon.
Yo, call the paddy wagon. I seen a black boy cash stacking, smirk on my face, screaming, fuck the Grand Dragon.
It's something to do with the bloodline and their ability to come into this world and change. Everybody on the media wants to talk about reptilian people, like George Soros and his crew, and Trump and everybody over there, and Rihanna and Beyonce and people in the music industry. It's because evil is alive and well. And as the creator started to speak to me He reminded me that he had been speaking to me my whole life. I just couldn't hear him and readily react until the spring of 2020. I want to share with you a few more things about how he introduced to me his ability to change, because it's really important that you understand that as the creator, he's the grand intellect, he's everything. He's the grass, he's the birds, the squirrels, the computers, everything. Creation. The creator didn't just create and walk away. It's a constant creation, which is why the grass is always renewing, and thank God the birds chirping every spring, and that it snows every winter, at least here in Michigan. It's all under control. Now, don't giggle. Check this out. I'm sharing this because I know that one day this is all going to be really important, and people are going to wonder how Elizabeth Ann Pride could hear from the creator. There's a lot of false stories in the media about who he is. They're trying to sell him as a bipolar, gender-bending queer who is mostly feminine, but that's not true, because the Prince Rogers Nelson that I watched, that I grew up with, was a man, and he knew how to act like a man. He strutted like a man. He sung like a man, period. And this new Prince that they try to sell, the one with the fro and all the weird flowy stupid clothes and the third eye glasses and all that, that's just because those people were hiding who they really are. As the creator began talking to me, even when I was reading the Beautiful Ones book, I could see things. He made me to see things, not crazy schizophrenia. I saw things because the creator allowed me to. And some of those things that I saw out of the book and in this drawing were many, many eyes. And it must have been a recollection from when I was in the heavenlies too, because the creator is all seeing and all knowing. I can't even, it makes me nervous to talk about it because I feel so lowly, but I know that I was there and I was shown these things. It's just super hard to remember, but there was a lot of eyes. So anyway, when I would read the Beautiful Ones book, there would be a lot of eyes, and this drawing of this creature with all these eyes, the spaceship and the little guy, and then all these tentacles from the jellyfish. The reason I drew this was because I was getting all of this input from up above, from the heavenlies, from this space place. And again, this was kind of drawn in a trance too. And it says here, electric impulses like a jellyfish. It's like what it feels like with this information coming into your brain. And that's why I always would wear hats. And I was like super duper, electricity. I was just the static. It was just crazy, super sensitive to electricity. So again, spring of 2020, he was introducing to me these things, these concepts, and I knew that something was happening. I just didn't know what it was. So absolutely everything that we did together has been so well documented. So I just want to share it. So that's enough of my drawings for a moment. I just wanted to mention, this is exactly what I had in mind when I said that those people that you saw, those are not Prince Rogers Nelson. These people started appearing as clones and lookalikes. I don't know when, but to the best of my research and recollection and knowing from the creator, it began in 2010 during the Welcome to America tour. Anybody who is new to Prince music may not know what I'm saying, but if you watched Prince since you were 13, for me it was Purple Rain. For me, when I began watching and listening, I was a prime, ripe teenager, 13 years old, and I saw a man, a little petite man who, when I watched Purple Rain, I knew I had seen before. It was like he was jumping through the screen and talking right to me. I had that album, of course, with the poster and everything, but now that I know that everything's a fraud, none of that means anything. Only the truth matters. Because he is the creator, and because the Prince image is a body, it's an image, and it was one that he was not allowed to use all the time. Others were able to use it contractually. That's why the song Possessed. This is what I wanted to say. During the Purple Rain tour was one of the only times that he came out and performed of his own energy, his own, he was in his own body. His soul. He's a soul man. If you think about the song Soul Man, is it Sam and Dave? And then of course he sang it at the concert, Soul Man. David Lee Roth sang, I ain't got no body. There's no body. There's no body because we are spirits living in the material world. And that's a lyric from The Police. Sting. You see, I tell you, music, music, music. It just pops into my head. The creator was not always allowed to, or did he want to, perform as himself because of the things that were being done to him. But during the Purple Rain tour, if memory serves me, is when he came out and performed as himself, which is why it was so energetic with the white flowing clothes and all the dancing and the this and the that, and then that's never been duplicated again. That's because he wasn't the one out there doing it. And then I think, again, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be, I have been before, when I'm in, I'm all in. I'm trying to get the truth out there, man. Mistakes don't bother me because I get up and dust myself off and keep going. So I think Love Sexy might have been one of the other tours when he did that, because he said that, or maybe it was this, maybe he said that when I would come to the concert, because like my first concert was Love Sexy in Cincinnati, and that was definitely the truth. In the other times that he wasn't performing, from what I understand, the other princes would perform. And I say princes because there were a bunch of them, you guys. It's not just one or two people, it's a bunch, because like Kim Pratt, the limo driver, said, with an empire that big, it's hard to get to know anybody. But what does the media tell you? That it was just Hannah, Josh, and Larry Graham and Taika? No, it wasn't. That's a lie. That what I am telling you, you have to know is ballsy enough. It's the truth. What do I mean when I say clones and lookalikes were used? Look, this is allegedly Prince Rogers Nelson at the Piano and a Microphone tour. And here's an example of when I said earlier that he was all man when I watched him, and then later on in life appeared way more feminine. So when you saw Prince in the past, you saw a man, a very sensual, very stylish, very handsome man. He may have worn heels and fancy clothes, but he always looked like a man. This new Prince looks nothing like a man. Let's take a closer look. Prince Rogers Nelson, Love Sexy, 1988. This other Prince would always be making exaggerated facial expressions, painting on their brow bone, because Prince Rogers Nelson always appeared with a much more prominent brow bone, and this other Prince usually painted on those eyebrows to go along with that woolly wig. Also, on this Prince over here, on the top lip, it's more full. It's much more full, and on this Prince, there's like a flatness to the lip, so you can tell it's not one and the same. I believe, like I said earlier, there's boys and girls, men and women playing Prince during these concerts. People, the time that they're out in the public eye is so short, they can get away with it. This is Judith Hill, and this is allegedly Prince during the Third Eye Girl 2014, and they have the same style, don't you think? Anyway, this dual identity, misinformation, propaganda, Paisley Park fiasco, it begins with the birth photos, because both of these are publicized as the birth announcement. This says announcing Prince Roger. Even the birth certificate in the Beautiful Ones book says Prince Roger Nelson. It does not say Prince Rogers. And this little baby right here is also said to be Prince Rogers Nelson. So this identity crisis that the media, like I mentioned, is trying to portray him as someone who is bent on not knowing who they were. Was he a woman? Was he a man? Was he a dove? Was he a psycho that was chasing Sinead O'Connor around a car trying to slap her? Was there sexcapades in every room at Paisley Park? It's the misinformation is bigger than the misinformation going around about the CVD-19. You know what I'm saying? This is me, aren't I cute? I could say, hey, there's Prince. This was a screenshot I took. I think it was in the media as a birthday picture of Prince. There's a cake in front of him. He's at a table. That's him. And then here's a screenshot next to it. Do you see how his chin, like if you look at my chin, it's kind of the same. It drops in here more, and then the cheeks are kind of the same, and he has the big old eyes, okay? But the media will tell you that this is Prince. The media promotes this center photo as being Prince at 11 years old. He was commenting on a strike or something in Minnesota. And of course, during the life of Prince Rogers Nelson, the 40 years, 37, 40 years he was signed to a contract and performing, we did never see any photos or any birth certificates or anything. It was only after the passing that these things come out, of course. If you compare it to the photo that we just saw before, you could tell it looks a little bit like Kirk Johnson. You see how he glances up and to the side? I mean, to me anyway, they look like the same kid because he's heavily involved, as you know. So again, the media is not to be believed. You truly can trust and believe that what I'm telling you is the truth, because for what other purpose would I come here and say such crazy things? I just wouldn't. Everybody that knows me knows how faithfully, loyally, and addictively I listened to Prince music from the time I was 13 to basically a couple months ago. It was everything to me. It was like my air. It was my constant companion. It spoke to me as if someone was sitting in the car seat next to me, dancing with me, doing everything with me that I did to the music. It's not just some lovesick, crazy obsession. It was all explained to me in the afterlife that the music, the melody, the drums, the rhythm, it was used to get inside of our brains, and especially mine, because the Creator made us all, and he makes us all for a sole purpose. And my sole purpose was to be a vessel for him at this time in life, to be a way out of what he was in. And again, that's a short version of saying what I have to say, but he explained to me and showed me how we knew each other in different lifetimes. And the reason that I was brought to the afterlife on July 20th, 2010, here's the thing. I can't quite remember. There's two things that I remember, and I'm going to say it the best that I can. One of the things that I remember is on July 20th, 2010, the person I know as Prince came and told me, after all these other things happened, but as he was walking and talking with me as Prince, he said something to the effect of, "Man, they got me." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I'm dying with AIDS." And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And there was some discussion, but if you listen to the lyrics of the monologue, it's The War by Prince, in that he says, "You give me AIDS, your history." And so it's part of the story. So either he told me he was dying, I think, on that day, and that the other Prince was maybe having surgery on that day. Maybe the hip surgery that the media promotes was real, but it was on the lookalike Prince, Kirk maybe, because when the Prince Creator spoke to me, he said he was free to talk to me in that space and time and in that moment. So he orchestrated my death so that I would be there. And then the other part of the story I remember is this. He told me that he, as this man person, actually died that day. And that goes along with the lyric, "In France, a skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. By chance, his girlfriend came across a needle, and soon she did the same, and that was me." And on July 20th of 2010, it was the Welcome to America tour in France. And then they took off a couple days, and then they went back to touring. But when they went back to touring, that Prince came back with a whole new band and a whole new set list, and to wearing flats. Now, you tell me, even if this media story about Prince having hip surgery would have been true, Nobody goes back to dancing and performing at that age after hip surgery. It takes 3 to 6 months minimum. I don't care who you are. So you know that we're talking about a look-alike. And so when I was there talking to him, he told me that because the other was under some kind of anesthesia, that he was intellectually free to tell me these things. Not only that, you guys, this is where the story gets much bigger, and I'm expecting company, so I'm going to be quick. The Creator told me that we as people were bound up, locked up in some kind of weird ass matrix that I can't explain, to where we are souls, a portion of heaven, that we are created by the Creator. We are like machines ourselves. We are wonderfully created. Any surgeon will tell you, highly intellectual, wonderfully made being. But we are run from the inside with a soul and a Creator that is gracious enough to wake us up every morning and turn that soul back on. And then when you're tired at night, turn that soul off. People need to recognize who we're talking about here, because that's who I'm talking about. So the only way that I can say this is the way that I can remember it. When we're here as souls in this physical place during the day, I'm making a video right now, I'm walking around, I'm awake, I'm doing... Somehow, because the Creator is sustaining us from within, and it's such a gift to be here in the first place, when we sleep, we're taken, our intellect is able to be manipulated in some way by darker forces, demonic forces, and they can change the way that we feel about ourselves. And it's not just that, you guys, because that part's really deep and way off, but the physicality of this place, when we're in these skin suits, that's a curse from the bite of the snake, from the physicality of sex, because what Hashem created as procreation. With Him, people were meant to have sex with Him in mind. Procreation. That's creating with the Creator. And now what do they turn it into? You know, everything sordid and disgusting and awful. So because of that, the deep physicality from the sin of sex, which that Christian New Testament version talks about as an apple crunch, then they have everybody using an Apple computer with a bite out of it, crunch. Then they showed Adam and Eve at the 2012 Olympic ceremony, opening closing ceremonies, with the apple, had everybody bite an apple at the same time. Did you know that the first Apple computer went on sale in '76 for $666? Man, it takes a genius to look into these things. No, the sin was sex, and it caused physicality to get thicker and thicker. And everything that we do that's physical in this world that goes against spirituality makes husks. You're like a corn cob, and every time you do something filthy, you put on another layer of husks. Every time you do something clean and good and pray and talk to the Creator and do tshuva and tell Him the truth of who you feel like you are and how you want to be close to Him and how you want to understand His being working throughout your being, the closer you guys can be, and the closer we can all be to unite, to unity, unity. Ask Queen Latifah, she'll tell you. We have to come together because the Creator gave us the gift of Himself in each of us, so that as we come together, He can become even greater, and we can all become what we were meant to be. You will never find your truth going to read some man-made, just like a man-made lake, man-made hot dog, man-made fish pond in the front yard. Jesus is a man-made idol, a false idol, like any wooden statue, like any carved stone statue. He is an idol, a one that mankind wrote into what they call a New Testament version, one that they wrote so they know how to fulfill. Their hope is that you will put your faith on a man who will never save you on Judgment Day, Redemption Day, coming to your door shortly. I'm trying to bring people's attention to the fact that they have to save themselves, and sometimes the help that you're looking for is at the end of your arm, and people are afraid to help themselves sometimes. But you can't be afraid anymore because the government wants you afraid. They're counting on you being afraid. They're counting on you being guilty. They're counting on you listening to Jesus is the only way, and if you believe in Jesus, you'll take this RFID chip and you'll come with us on our spaceship to Mars, because that's where we're going next, because guess what? We just found water and it's livable. But guess what? If you take an RFID chip, all you're going to do is separate yourself from the creator for all eternity, because that makes you a machine. He made us biological, physiological, intellectually, emotionally, deep, loving, kind, compassionate, loving, giving human beings. At least that's what I am. I don't know about you. And if you take that RFID chip, you know what you're going to be? A slave. Your children are going to be slaves. They're going to be used as sex slaves. God forbid, these things will happen. It's a deep, dark Nazi plan that I heard about in the afterlife, and I will never stop talking about it. It's the ultimate plan, is to separate you from your belief in yourself and from the belief in the Creator. Just, could you imagine anything darker? If you were darkness itself, if you were evil, what would make you more excited than erasing the name of Hashem, God forbid? What would make you more excited than building a Tower of Babylon, the America, the darkness, the porn hub that we are? What would make you more excited than to offer that to your God? America has been, we're a shit show, man. You guys, when I saw America